Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the smell of fresh bread coming out of a warm oven. It is a smell that feels like home, isn't it? It is warm, sweet, and comforting. Every culture on earth has its own version of bread. In Mexico, there are corn tortillas. In India, there is soft naan. In France, there are long, crunchy baguettes. Bread is more than just food. It is a connection to our past. It is a story that started thousands of years ago. Before we had cities, before we had writing, we had bread. Have you ever wondered who made the first loaf? Who decided to crush a tiny seed and mix it with water? It is one of the greatest mysteries of human history. Bread changed us. It turned us from travelers into farmers. It helped us build the first great civilizations. It fed the people who built the pyramids and the people who explored the oceans. Tonight, we are going to travel back in time. We will see how a simple grass seed became the staff of life. We will meet the bakers of the ancient world and the scientists of the modern world. Bread is a simple mix of flour, water, and time. But inside that simple mix is the history of the whole world. Are you ready to take a bite out of history? Let's begin our journey. A long, long time ago, long before supermarkets existed, humans were hunters. They followed animals and picked wild berries. But they also found something special: wild grass. These grasses had tiny seeds. Today we call these seeds grains. At first, humans probably just ate the seeds raw. They were hard and difficult to chew. Then someone had a brilliant idea. They used a heavy stone to crush the seeds into a powder. This powder was the very first flour. Imagine a family sitting around a fire 14,000 years ago. They mixed this flour with a little water from a nearby stream. It became a sticky paste. They flattened this paste and put it on a hot stone near the fire. The heat turned the paste into a dry, crunchy bread. It was the first flatbread. It wasn't soft or fluffy like the bread we eat today. It was probably very hard and dusty, but it was a miracle. It was food that could be carried and saved for later. This changed everything. Humans didn't have to follow animals every single day. If they had grain and stones, they had a meal. This was the birth of baking. In the dirt of ancient campsites, archaeologists have found the crumbs of these first meals. These tiny crumbs are the oldest recipes in the world. Now, let's travel to ancient Egypt. The sun is hot and the Nile River is flowing. The Egyptians loved bread so much, they were often called bread-eaters. For a long time, their bread was flat, just like the Stone Age bread. But then a magic accident happened. Legend says a baker forgot a bowl of dough out in the sun. While the baker was gone, tiny, invisible, living things landed in the dough. We call these tiny things yeast. The dough began to grow and bubble. The baker didn't throw it away. He put it in the oven anyway. To his surprise, the bread didn't stay flat. It rose up and became soft and airy. This was the invention of leavened bread. It was a revolution. Bread was no longer just a hard cracker. It was a soft, delicious pillow of flavor. The Egyptians became masters of baking. They made over 50 different shapes of bread. They even used bread as money to pay the workers who built the pyramids. Bread was even buried with the kings in their tombs. They believed the kings would need a snack in the afterlife. To the Egyptians, bread was a gift from the gods. Think about that the next time you see a loaf of bread rise in the oven. It is the same magic yeast that the Egyptians discovered by accident thousands of years ago. As the world grew, so did the love for bread. The ancient Greeks took bread making and turned it into an art. They created the first public bakeries. In Greece, you could walk down the street and smell different breads. Some were made with honey, some with milk, and some with oil. They were very proud of their skills. Then came the Romans. The Romans were masters of organization. They knew that if the people were hungry, they would be unhappy. The Roman government gave out free grain to the poor. They called this bread and circuses. If the people had bread to eat and shows to watch, the empire stayed peaceful. The Romans also improved the way we grind grain. They built large mills pulled by animals. This allowed them to make much more flour than a human could, by hand. In the city of Pompeii, archaeologists found ovens that still had loaves of bread inside them from 2,000 years ago. The loaves were burnt, but you can still see the baker's mark on them. In Rome, being a baker was a very important job. They even had their own guilds or clubs. They were the scientists of their time, perfecting the temperature of the ovens. For the Romans, bread was the heart of the city. It kept the soldiers strong and the citizens full. It was the fuel that powered the greatest empire on earth. In the Middle Ages in Europe, life was very different. Most people lived in small villages and worked on farms. For them, bread was almost the only thing they ate. It was called the staff of life because it supported people every day. But not all bread was the same. The bread you ate told everyone how much money you had. Rich people ate white bread, made from wheat. It was soft and expensive because it took a long time to clean the flour. It was seen as a sign of purity and wealth. Poor people ate brown bread or black bread. This was made from rye or barley. It was very heavy, dark, and hard to chew. Sometimes it was so hard it was used as a plate. These edible plates were called trenchers. After the meal was over, the poor people would eat their plate or give the soaked bread to the dogs. Baking was a community event. Most people did not have an oven at home because ovens were expensive and dangerous. Instead, the village had one big communal oven. Every family would bring their dough to the big oven. They would chat and share news while the bread baked. The bakery was the social center of the village. Bread was so important that there were very strict laws about it. If a baker sold a loaf that was too small, they could be punished. People took their daily bread very seriously. For a long time, bread mostly meant wheat, rye, or barley. But in the 1400s and 1500s, explorers began to sail across the oceans. They found new worlds and new foods. When they reached the Americas, they didn't find wheat. They found a tall, golden plant we call corn or maize. The people there had been making bread from corn for centuries. Think of the tortilla. It is a simple flatbread made of corn and water. It was the daily bread of the Aztecs and the Mayans. The explorers also found potatoes. In some places, people began to mix boiled potatoes into their flour. This made the bread very moist and soft. In Asia, bread was different too. In China, people often steamed their bread instead of baking it. This created soft white buns called manto. In India, they used clay ovens called tandoor to stick flat dough to the walls. This created the smoky, bubbly naan that we love today. Suddenly, the world of bread was getting much bigger. New ingredients were traveling from one country to another. The concept of bread was changing. It showed us that humans are very creative. No matter what plants grew in their soil, corn, rice, or wheat, they found a way to turn it into a loaf or a cake. Bread became a bridge between cultures. We shared our seeds, we shared our recipes, and we shared our tables with people from far away. In the 1800s, the world started to move very fast. This was the Industrial Revolution. Machines began to do the work that humans and animals used to do. New roller mills were invented. These machines could make white flour very quickly and very clear's throat cheaply. Suddenly, white bread wasn't just for the rich anymore. Everyone wanted the snowy white loaves. It felt modern and clean. But there was a problem. When you make flour that white, you take away the vitamins and the fiber. Then came the biggest change of all: sliced bread. In 1928, a man named Otto Roeder invented a machine that could slice a whole loaf of bread at once. People loved it. It was so easy to use. In America, we still have a saying, "The greatest thing since sliced bread." It means something is a wonderful new invention. Factories began to make thousands of loaves every hour. They added chemicals to make the bread stay soft for weeks. Bread became standardized. Every loaf looked the same. For a while, People forgot about the old ways. They forgot about the village ovens and the smell of long fermented dough. Bread became a product on a shelf, wrapped in plastic. It was convenient, yes. It was cheap, yes. But something was missing. The soul of the bread, the unique flavors, and the crunchy crusts was starting to disappear. By the late 20th century, some people began to miss the real bread. They were tired of the soft, tasteless bread from the supermarkets. They wanted the old flavors back. This was the start of the artisan bread movement. Bakers began to study the old ways again. They went back to using just flour, water, salt, and yeast. Many people rediscovered sourdough. Sourdough doesn't use store-bought yeast. It uses a starter, a mix of flour and water that catches wild yeast from the air. This starter can live for years. Some families have starters that are over 100 years old. But they pass them down from parents to children like a family treasure. Today, you can find small bakeries in almost every city. These artisan bakers take their time. They let the dough rest for hours or even days to develop the best flavor. We are also celebrating global breads more than ever. We eat focaccia from Italy, pa from the Middle East, and rye bread from Scandinavia. We have learned that faster isn't always better. Sometimes, the best things in life require patience. A crusty loaf of sourdough reminds us to slow down. We are returning to our roots. We are using the same basic tools that the Stone Age bakers and the Egyptians used. We are remembering that bread is a living thing. We have traveled a long way, haven't we? From a dusty campsite 14,000 years ago to the modern artisan bakeries of today, bread has been with us every step of the way. It is a symbol of peace. When we break bread with someone, it means we are sharing more than food. We are sharing friendship. It is a symbol of life. In many languages, the word for bread is the same as the word for money or work. It is the thing we need to survive. Think about the journey of a single grain. It grows in the earth. It is harvested by hands or machines. It is ground into powder, and finally it is transformed by fire. Today, bread is still a global icon. Even in a world of high-tech gadgets and fast food, a simple loaf of bread remains the most important food on the planet. It reminds us that we are all connected. We all need food. We all love the smell of a warm kitchen, and we all share this ancient history. Next time you hold a piece of bread, look at it closely. Look at the tiny holes made by the yeast. Feel the texture of the crust. You are holding 14,000 years of human ingenuity in your hand. You are part of the story, and the story of bread is still being written, one loaf at a time. Thank you for traveling through time with me. May your kitchen always be warm, and may your bread always be fresh.